Hey y'all, welcome back to our very bookish channel, and welcome to our November TBR.
Hey guys, and welcome to our November TBR. I have a fair amount on my list. I know Amanda tends to like to call it hopefuls, the maybes, the maybe nots. I tend to get at least half of them read, I think, typically when I am setting out to say what I'm going to read. And sometimes I do bring them in from another month to try and get things read. But there's only 2 more months in the year. There are many that I definitely have ambitions to get read by the end of the year. But also I have some on my list that are arcs for ones that aren't coming out till next year. So I have kind of a mixed bag of all kinds of different books for November, and I will kick it off with one from Gabrielle Zevin. It is a new reissue of one of her, this is a YA book that she wrote. She wrote Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, which is one of my favorite books. I am a big fan of her writing. And this one is, like I said, YA, and it's about a 15-year-old girl who ends up finding out that she died, and she's in this place that is kind of like Earth, but kind of not. And she finds out she will be aging backwards until her birth. And that's just the way the afterlife works for her, I guess. It's an interesting concept, and I don't know how I feel about it just yet, but I couldn't resist the pretty package on this reissue. So I bought it. I haven't read this yet by her, and I definitely want to get this read by the end of the year. I bought this a couple months ago. So I have this on November's hopeful list.
So first I want to start out a little unconventionally. I recently moved, y'all know, I've talked about it. And I've been going through my books and unpacking them, and there's a lot of books that I need to unhaul. I know I should have done it before I moved, but honestly, you guys, we were just in such a hurry to get everything packed and moved. I did not have time to really comb through and get rid of things, so we just packed everything up and moved it. But now that I'm unpacking it, I have a little more time to go through it, and I am setting up my library, so I have to be a little selective. I don't have unlimited room, and I want to just make sure I'm surrounded by books that I love and want to read. So real quick, I'm just going to show you a little unhaul for all of you guys that love the unhauls. First book, The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. I DNF'd this book. I didn't really like it. Ebony Gate. This is an arc I received, and I did read it. It was okay, but I'm not going to continue the series. Chevy Stevens, Those Girls. This is a thriller based around 3 sisters, and this is an arc I received years ago. Oh my gosh, I don't even know when this book came out, but probably like 2018 time frame, and I've just never read it. Oh, July of 2015. This book's 10 years old. Never read it. There's no reason to keep on to it. Alice and Brennan, North of Nowhere. I did read this book in a vlog, and I really liked it, but I'm probably not going to reread it, so I'm going to put it in a little free library and let someone else get the chance. The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This book I picked up at a library sale for like 50 cents or $1. I'd heard a lot of people talking about this book and enjoying it, but the more that I hear about it, this just doesn't sound like a book that I'm going to be interested in. Here's a thriller I picked up at Ollie's Bargain Mart. I have so many thrillers that I need to read, and although this was appealing to me at the time that I bought it, I just don't have the interest in it anymore, so I'm gonna put it in a little free library. J.T. Ellison, Her Dark Lies, same thing. I have so many thrillers. This book just not appealing to me anymore. I think I also bought this at Ollie's Bargain Mart, or it was at a library sale. I can't remember. It's been a long time ago since I bought it, but again, it's just another thriller that I've kind of lost interest in. Stephen King's The Gunslinger. I bought this. This is the first book in the Dark Tower series that he wrote. I did read this book all the way through, but it was just okay. I didn't love it. I'm not going to continue the series, so there's really no reason for me to hold on to this. And lastly, I have A Road of Bones by Christopher Golden. This was a library book that I purchased at a library sale for 50 cents or something. And I did read another book by this author, a Halloween book, and I didn't really like the writing. It wasn't really for me. I don't think this author is an author that is for me, and I still wanted to maybe give this book a try, but the longer I hold on to this book and the more other books are piquing my interest, it's just no use in holding on to this. So I will be unhauling that. So a quick little unhaul for y'all. Since you like the unhauls, I thought I would throw it in here. I will be taking all of these books to Little Free Libraries, and hopefully they will find homes with people that will love them. All right, y'all. So for the last half of the year, in order to catch up, Jen and I have decided to kind of mood read and just look for books to read for our series, One Viral Book, Two Opinions Under 10 Minutes. So hopefully some viral books will pop up and we'll have some fun times reading those books. But until then, we're just going to kind of mood read. And the end of the year is also very busy for Jen's work. So I don't know how much time she is going to be reading, and I hate to put pressure on her to read and put out vlogs when she spends most of her time working, and she's obviously tired from working at the end of the day. So we're going to be mood reading a lot. For me personally, I'm going to focus a lot on my arcs. I got very behind on arcs over the summer when I wasn't reading so much and only reading for vlogs. So I really want to get caught up on some of the arcs. I really want to get some of my reviews put in Edelweiss and Goodreads and start off the new year with less of a burden, less of an arc burden for me. So I'm going to be focusing on arcs. The first book that I'm going to read, obviously, you guys know, Empire of the Dawn. I am going to read this book. I'm going to take my time reading this book. I don't know. This might be one of 2 books I read all November because I really want to read this slowly and absorb everything and try to remember as much as I can, and try to also need to reflect back on the previous 2 books because this is the 3rd book of a trilogy, and I have read the first 2 books, but I need to go back in and kind of refresh my memory on those. And I have already started it. I couldn't not start it, but I do want to really take my time with this one and read this in November.
I mentioned I have a couple arcs. This one, I was really happy that I won. I want to say it was through Shelf Awareness. I can't remember, but it's a book by Rachel Hawkins and it's called The Storm. It doesn't come out, I think, until March of next year. I don't remember, actually. Actually, it comes out in January. I will most likely get an arc review up when I read this. I liked one of hers, and then the other one I really liked. So The Heiress was one I read by her. I really liked that one. And then there was one that I wasn't as enamored of, and that one was, I think, The Villa was what it was called. It was interesting. It had a lot of promise. It just kind of fell flat for me. So I'm not sure which way this will go. I am excited to read it though. This one's about a true crime writer that comes to a town, decides to investigate an infamous murder, and then he brings someone with him that seems to have a lot of secrets, and a hurricane is on the path to where they are at the same time. Kind of a unique story. I haven't had anything like that before, but I want to see which way I'm going to go with Rachel Hawkins, if it's going to be someone I'm going to continue to read, or if it's something now that, if it goes towards how The Villa was for me, I may not keep reading Rachel Hawkins.
The next book is a book I found on my physical TBR unpacking, and I just decided to read it and knock it out of the way. I've already started it. I am about 25% of the way through the book, and that's Escape Room by Megan Golden. Megan Golden is a very, I feel like, underrated author. I've read, this will be the 3rd book by her, and I'm only 25% of the way in, but I'm really liking it. I am enjoying all of the books that I read from her. The first 2 books were part of a series, and I enjoyed them. This is another book I found, obviously, at Books A Million in the bargain section for $4 and said, you know what, I love this author, I'm gonna pick it up. But so far, it's a murder mystery. You're following a young woman who is out of college and she's struggling to find a job. She gets hired, luckily, by this big banking firm as an investment banker, and she's just living her dream. She's making 6 figures a year and she's living the high life. But you also are getting the point of view of some people from this firm that have been called in for a meeting, and you know that someone ends up dying, or you know there's at least a lot of blood in an elevator, and you know that they are participating in an escape room challenge, and it ends in at least blood, a lot of blood in an elevator. I'm assuming someone dies. You also know pretty early on that the main character that you're following, who just landed her dream job, ends up dying, because they refer to her as someone that is dead in the past. So I'm really getting into this book and trying to figure out what happened to her. How are these people linked? What's going to happen in this escape room elevator? I don't know, but I'm really enjoying the ride so far and can't wait to finish this book. It will be finished probably the next couple of days.
Another arc that I have is called The Fairweather Friend by Jessie Garcia. This author wrote one called The Business Trip, and I really loved that one. I thought it was an interesting, twisty book. And Frida McFadden had a blurb on the front of that one. She does have a blurb on the back of this one that says, "Non-stop twists and turns. I couldn't wait to see how it ended." So I'm not always in agreement with Frida. Some of the ones that she's had a blurb on, I didn't necessarily think were great. I will see if this one is also twisty and propulsive as promised. This one is about a TV meteorologist who goes missing and everything that happens after that. I feel like The Business Trip was also about someone who's missing and then you kind of find out what happened. I have a feeling it might go along the same path, but we'll see. Maybe she'll twist it up, no pun intended, and this will be a really interesting book. I will definitely get an ARC review up for this one. This also comes out in January. So it's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure I get these read by the end of the year. I've had them a little while now. It's just hard to get to everything on my list.
The next book that's on my TBR is a book that I started and then put down, and I need to restart again and start from the beginning, but I really want to read, and that's Spellcaster by Jamin Eve. This author has a lot of books on Edelweiss right now that I can download. So I've been really curious. I really hope that I like this book and this author, because there's a lot of books that I can read from her. I'm going to read a little synopsis on the back, because even though I've read the beginning of this book, I don't feel like I can really describe this book well. Welcome to Weatherstone College. Don't walk the halls late at night. Don't disturb the ancient magic, and don't under any circumstances ever trust a spellcaster. When my magic bloomed at 22, the last thing I expected was to receive an acceptance letter to the most prestigious witch college in the world. It's not that I don't have magic, it's just unpredictable. With a Weatherstone, a part of my family legacy, I'm determined to live up to their expectations. A task that's almost derailed on my very first day when I come face to face with Logan Kingston, the son of my father's enemy. I'm warned to avoid the powerful spellcaster at all costs, but apparently Logan did not receive the same memo. The more time I spend around him, the more I crave his unsettling attention, and as hate flirts with obsession, I'm left wondering if there's another side to the decades-old feud between our fathers. On top of that, Weatherstone is not all like I expected. Built on the ancient blood of necromancers and battle, the magic here is as unpredictable as mine, and I sense a dark energy stalking my footsteps. When a monster attacks me, I have no choice but to turn to the strongest warlock in our school, Logan. After all, to fight a monster, I'll need a monster. I don't know. I've enjoyed the first couple of pages that I've read, and I'm looking forward to continuing this and getting this finished.
One that I don't have with me that is actually a reissue of a book that was released in 1961. And I want to say it's more considered like literary fiction. It's called The Ha Ha by Jennifer Dawson, and it's compared to Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. I'm a big fan of Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. I had done my senior thesis in college on it, comparing it to Representing Depression in Fiction versus a memoir with Prozac Nation by Elizabeth Wurtzel. And I very much have interest in the 1950s and 60s, especially, and how housewives were made to fit a mold, and a lot of them ended up having a lot of psychological issues, and how was that handled. And I do feel like there's a certain amount of fiction that deals with that. This one sounds very similar. It's about a girl who is battling depression, and she's going to Oxford University, and I believe it's also semi-autobiographical. I am very interested, and I thought it was interesting that they're reissuing this now. I think it was recently like rediscovered in terms of how well written it was, and it didn't get its day back then. I think The Bell Jar may have overshadowed it at the time, but I definitely want to get it read. It does come out in November in paperback, so I was going to pick it up and have it read in November.
The next book I hope to read in the month of November is the second book of the Throne of Glass series, and that's called Crown of Midnight. My goal is to read one of these books a month. So I'm going to be continuing the series hopefully in the month of November.
Something on the other side of literary fiction and more of a spicy romance, and also coming out in November, is called Brimstone by Callie Hart. It's the follow-up to Quicksilver, and it's Ceres and Kingfisher are the characters that you're following. I am going to have to do not a reread of Quicksilver, but a more in-depth synopsis so that I remember everything before I read Quicksilver. But I do plan on picking it up in November and reading that one as well. I think it'll definitely help balance some of the more serious material I have going on in November.
A book that's coming out in November that Jen and I think are planning on reading is Brimstone, and that's the second book in the Quicksilver series, and I am excited to read that. If y'all don't know anything about Quicksilver, then check out our video we did on it, One Viral Book series, where Jen and I both read the book and give our opinions.
Another book that has recently won a Discover Prize at Barnes & Noble, and it is called a life-affirming and funny novel, even though it has some more serious subjects. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it once I start reading it, because it's about a woman who ends up having her husband leave her for another woman, and then she gets a breast cancer diagnosis. If you guys watch our channel, you know that I'm not always wanting to read cancer in stories just because I had gone through my own, and sometimes it just hits too close to home, and it's just too stressful sometimes to read about it. Even though I have just hit 5 years cancer-free, which is a huge milestone, it's still something that scares me that could come back, and it's something I never want any of my friends and family to have to go through, and it's just a scary thing to think about. But for this one, we'll see if it ends up being something that I'm okay with and it is really funny and I will get through it, or if it's hitting too much to home, I will DNF it. But I was interested. I hit that time of year where I start to think about the books that I've heard a lot this past year, in either getting a lot of people saying how great it is, or now it's going up for one of the best books of 2025 or winning prizes, because we're hitting the end of the year where a lot of people start talking about it. And I tend to be interested in the books that I haven't read yet that end up on the best of lists. And this is one of them. So, and I know I didn't say the title. You guys obviously can see it because it's in my hands. But Maggie, or A Man and a Woman Walk Into a Bar, and it's by Katie Yee. And the little blurb is from the author of The Wedding People, which is one of the books that I read this year and absolutely loved. And it was really funny. The Wedding People was hilarious, and I was laughing out loud at it. But her quote says, "A story is playful as it is profound." So have a lot of hope for this, and I plan on reading it, and it's super thin too. So I think I'll be able to get through this pretty quick in November.
The next book on my TBR is an arc I have of Adrift by Will Dean. Will Dean is an author that I have read and loved, and this book sounds cool. It takes place on a riverboat, and you're following a couple who are both authors, and they're both working really hard to write their books, get their books out. The wife's book becomes a success, and the husband, I think, gets jealous, and she's trapped on this riverboat with him. And that sounded very creepy. It was giving me Cape Fear vibes. If y'all have seen the movie Cape Fear, at the end of the movie, the finale takes place on a boat, and it's scary. And I remember as a kid seeing that movie and being like very creeped out. So I feel like the description of this book and how I know Will Dean writes and some of the other stories I've read of his is kind of giving me those vibes. So I'm really excited to read this, and I really want to get to it this month, but I have a lot on my plate, so we will see.
A very big maybe on my list, because I had talked about it, I think, in the most anticipated. It's very possible I pull it out of the jar because it is the month that we pull out of our TBR jar. But Wally Lamb's River is Waiting has been getting a lot of praise this year. I've been on the fence because the plot line didn't sound very interesting. Though I've read She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb, and one of my favorite books of all time. It's such a good book. I haven't read anything else by Wally Lamb. I think I tried one somewhere along the line and I had to put it down. It wasn't grabbing my attention. So I'm not sure how I will feel about River is Waiting. I'll most likely do it on audio because I don't own it and I don't know if I want to buy it as hardcover, but in case I don't like it, I could always get it at the library too. So that's a potential, but that is a possibility for November, though it's a maybe. Like, I don't know if that'll really happen.
Another arc that I have by an author that I love is Dig by J.H. Markert. He is, in my opinion, one of the best horror authors I've ever written. The Nightmare Man, 5-star perfection. Jen actually got to see him at a signing and got some books signed from him. So really excited for her for that. And she actually got me a signed book for, I think, my birthday or Christmas from him too. I got Mr. Lullaby signed, and she didn't meet him to get that signed, but she contacted him and they worked it out where she bought it from a store and they mailed it. Anyways, I have a signed copy of his books, but I have loved his thriller and horror books, and I think they are very creative, very, very, very well written, keep you on the edge of your seat. So I was ecstatic when I got approved for the e-arc of Dig, and I really can't wait to get into that book. And this is the perfect time of year to do it. This is the perfect time of year to read that book. It is coming out, I think, in March. So it's coming out kind of springtime. But I think for me, I really want to read it soon, sort of this dark winter time of year, because I feel like now's the perfect time.
Now we're going to get to the TBR jar. And I decided that I am going to pick 2. Because of the maybe of Wally Lamb, but also just in case the first one that I pick doesn't work out. So I got one, and it's yellow, which is, I think, newer. I did add some of the ones from recent months in here not too long ago. All right, so this one is The Marriage Rule by Helen Monks Takar, from the May-June 2025. So that is I picked, and I don't own that. So I will have it on the screen so you guys can see it. I don't own it, but I can either do, I'm sure I can either do audio or just go to the library. All right, I'm hitting one more. It is also yellow, so it might be from that same most anticipated. Obviously, I have learned and I have put these on here a little better so that I can open them quicker. All right, so this one's Ink Ribbon Red by Alex Pavesi from the July-August 2025. And it is also one I have really wanted to read. Again, I don't own it, but I'm either going to get it on audio or I will get it at the library. All right, my November I might also have some electronic arcs I end up reading in November. I have been reading some electronic arcs already, and sometimes I like to take a break from the tablet, but when I really want to read something is usually when I can't help it and I go ahead and read it on my tablet. One may end up on my November list because of that.
And finally, y'all, we're going to be picking from our TBR jar. And we're going to pick 2 because we need to read this. Look, I mean, you guys, this jar is almost filled. I don't even have much room. I might have to get a bigger jar. Look how many I have. And some of these I've probably already read. I just read them without pulling them from the jar. So if I pull a book that I've already read, we'll just throw it away and get another one. And some of these, if I pull, I won't be able to read because I did put my November and December most anticipated into this jar, and those books aren't out yet. So unless I have an arc for it, I won't be able to read it. I'll put it back in the jar. But we're going to draw 2. So let's see. Let's get to it. Wow, there's just so, look at all these, there's so many of these. I don't know, I probably have 200 in here. I don't even know how many. But I definitely need to start reading these books. So this is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. And I actually already DNF'd this book. So we're going to throw this one out. I love Joe Abercrombie's writing. I love his sense of humor. But I just couldn't get into that book. I don't know what it was. But I'm DNF'd that book, so already tried that one. This one is July, August of 2025, Murder by the Book by Amy Schaumburg. I honestly can't remember. This is obviously a thriller and murder mystery, but I can't remember much about this book, but I will try to get this one from my Libby app or find it somehow, and I will be reading this one for a vlog. One more. Another yellow one. This one is from May and June of 2025. This is Shadow Wars by Sherilyn Kennan. I actually already DNF'd that book as well. I had an arc of that, and it was a middle grade fantasy book, and I really was I was really interested in the author because she's written a lot of adult fantasy books, but this book didn't hit with me, so I already tried that one and DNF'd it. Let's try one more. All right, purple one. This is September, October 2024, The Queen. So this is a horror book. Oh, who is the author? I can picture the cover. Nick Cutter. Yes, this is a horror book by Nick Cutter. And I did read the first chapter, and we did a try a chapter vlog, and I did read the first chapter of this book. So I'm going to have to get my hands on this and read this. This is a really good book for this time of year. A really spooky, creepy horror book. So there we have it. I will be reading a horror book by Nick Cutter and a mystery book by Amy Schaumburg. So those are my picks. We will be reading and vlogging them. And if I happen to have to DNF them, I will try to pick another one from here in the vlog. So hopefully those turn out to be good. I don't know. We'll have to see. This could be a hit or miss, okay? Some of these books are new authors to us, and we don't always know what we're getting, but they sound like good books. And I like that they're different genres, so I don't get burned out on any one thing.
Let us know what's on your November TBR list. What do you want to read by the end of the year? Is there anything that you absolutely can't wait to read? And until next time.